I'm Jane and welcome to another Silhouette Studio video tutorial. It's Cardtober Day 20 and it's my turn again. As usual, my inspiration is from Pinterest and this lovely monochromatic birthday card. I like the little stars that are cut through. I liked the twine, although I can't do twine like that, but never mind. And I thought, this is what we'll try. And then I decided it won't be a birthday card. I'm going to make it a Christmas card. And so I did a quick mock-up in Photoshop first. And I thought navy and yellow. And the reason I picked yellow is I know I've actually got some yellow twine. I actually haven't got any navy twine, but for this I thought, well, that looks nice. And so this is what I'm going to attempt. However, I then discovered I haven't actually got much navy card at all. So I thought, let's go for something a little non-traditional. And here is one. I made two cards, but this is one of my finished cards. And I used Island Indigo cardstock from Stampin Up instead, which is one of the discontinued colours, but I have a couple of sheets that need using, so that's why I chose it. And the button does match, but I've had that for about 5 years. It is from Stampin Up, but I couldn't tell you what colour it is. And I've also got a little star puffy heart thing there that's also from Stampin Up, and I think that is in crushed curry, which matches my crushed curry twine. My stars cut out really well. I only had one little issue here, and that's not to do with my cutting. That's because I've got a new cutting mat, and even though I had my wonderful husband dab it a few times with a tea towel to fluff it up a bit, it was still really sticky, and I just had that one little incident. But other than that, I think it turned out all right. So let's get started. Grab a cup of tea or coffee and let's open Silhouette Studio and make this card. I haven't already opened anything or prepared anything for this. I'm going to show you how I approach this right from the very beginning. I always decrease my inset for the registration marks. I can get away with it. My Cameo reads them fine, which of course isn't much comfort to people who do struggle, but I don't know, I just practiced a lot and managed to find a way that works for me, and I think that's the only advice that I can give. Next, I'm going to open my Stampin' Up colours because they're the ones that I know I was going to use, and I'll pop into the old library here and right click on this SU chart and click Merge SU Chart, and I've got my old colours here because these are the ones that I've got colours for at the moment, and these are the newer ones which I'm not going to be using, so I could actually just get rid of those. I've also got a couple of card blanks at the back here, a portrait one which I'm going to pull out now, and this is a landscape one. And these are drawn out at my usual measurements of 4.13 wide by 5.845 high, which of course is an A4 piece of card cut in half. If you're using letter size, you'll be doing 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it saves me having to draw them out each time. And these are grouped together at the moment, so I'm going to ungroup. And then I'm just going to select the back one, and I'm going to get it into the Island Indigo colour. I like to work with the colours. And then I'll quickly open my line style and my fill panel, use my dropper and pick up the colour. That's the first thing done. When I did this as a little practice earlier, I did all the stars first, but I'm going to start with the text because we really need to position the text so that we get the stars in the right place. So let's open our text tool. Now, of course, when it comes to fonts, you're going to use whatever you have on your machine. Let's zoom in a little. And you won't be able to use exactly what I've got, but I chose, let me think, for the first one, I think it was Joanne Marie, and I got this in a bundle from the Hungry JPEG, Joanne Marie Script, and I know that it was a really big size, and I'm going to do 166 points. And I want it in this crushed curry colour. So let's select it and then open the text tool. And I don't want my text cutting, so I'm going to turn off the line now and type a big letter O for Oh Holy Night. And then just move it across a little here. Now, on my Photoshop one, I did a little shadow, and if you have, it's either designer or business edition, you could do that via the image effects here and use shadow. So let me show you quickly what that might look like. We've got dynamic or fixed. Well, we'll go for dynamic. I don't really know what the difference is at the moment. And there we go. Now, I actually think that's a little bit dark. So let's move over again. So you could lighten it. And you could type a number in here. It says 62. So let's try 75. Press enter. Let's try 80. Oh, that's not bad. So that's one way you can add a shadow, and the benefit of that is it's attached to your letter and will move with it unless you click release shadow. Just going to undo a few times. There we go. Close image effects. If you haven't got image effects and you're in basic edition, you can still do that by holding your Alt key and making a copy, clicking and dragging, making a copy, and changing this to something like the light grey, which is the first one here, sending it backwards, and then using your arrow keys to line it up. And all you need to do is think where your light is coming from. So I'm assuming my light is coming from the top left, somewhere up over here, somewhere, coming down. So my shadow will be going off down to the right and bottom, and just use your arrow keys until it sort of lines up and looks all right. So you don't need to use the actual shadow tool, and if you haven't got the version that has it, that's a really good thing. While that grey one behind is selected, group these together by holding your Shift key and clicking on the yellow, and group the two O's together so that now they'll move as one. For the next word, I know I used Joanne Marie Script again, but in capitals. So I'm going to keep with that and do my next word, and I need that in the island Indigo. So let's change the colour with the eyedropper and fetch the text tool again and click and the word is night. Click out. That's a lot bigger than I need. And I can't remember what size I did this. I think it was about 28. So let's try that. And it's very faint there. So I added a line, and here's my colour. It's actually changed there. So let's click it. And to get a line to print, I need to increase the thickness. So let's go for 1.5. There we go. And that'll sit somewhere there for the moment. And now we need the word holy, and for that I used Just Right Solid. So let's find that in the list. Here it is, Just Right Solid, and of course I've still got that selected, so it's changed it. So let's go back. Right, click out. Now find Just Right Solid. I do that so often, make life hard for myself. And I can't remember what size again we need for holy, so let's just type it and then reduce it. Hold the shift key and drag in the corner, and we want a little bit of white space to the right there. And what's that, 65? That might do. I think that rings a bell. I think I did 65. And then let's move this, because I had it sort of like that. And holy night can go about there. And that'll do. Now, if you think this is a little bit thin, you can add the line again that we did before. So let's have a look if I thicken that up a bit. I don't think my colour's on, is it? No, let's put the colour on. And you can see that's thickened the lines out a little bit, so it's a bit more visible, and I actually quite like that, so I think that will do. So that's my lettering, and that will of course be staying with this front panel because it's going to be print and cut. So I'm going to actually group all my letters together so that I don't mess up my alignment. Now I can do my stars and arrange them around my sentiment. And when I did this earlier this week, could I draw a star? Could I heckers like? So I've been practicing this morning, and I've come up with what I think is a fairly easy way to do a star. I'm going to put my line colour back to red because we do want the stars to be cutting, and I'm just going to choose any old yellow on here just so that I can see them. And let's zoom in at the bottom here so you can see what I'm doing. Now, I am a bit of a control freak. I like things to look right. So when I was doing stars, they had to be, you know, as near as perfect as I could get them. So I've been practicing this morning, and I can draw stars now. My grid is set to 1 inch, and I've got 8 divisions. I tell you that only so that when I say 1 square, 3 squares, that's the sort of measurements I'm using. You can use whatever measurements make sense to you, but you will find a grid useful for getting your proportions right. I'm starting with the rectangle tool, and I'm going to start 1 square above the middle of, well, my guide for this is to fit this star within 4 of my big squares. So I'm 1 square above the middle, and I'm drawing down 3. And then I'm going to double click, add a point in the middle. I don't know why I clicked out. And then select my end points, hold shift while I do that, and I can delete both of them together. Now I'm going to draw another rectangle, and I'm going to start about in the middle of that second little square in from my big 4 and go up to the top. That will do. Double click, put a point in the middle and a point in the middle. Click on that end one. No, it's not that end one at all, it's this end one up here. With my shift key, holding the shift key, click the other side, delete point, and then move this point up until it meets that one. So I came just below it, about there. It's near enough, and that's it. Now I shall draw around and select both shapes and use the quick weld selected shapes tool on my toolbar up here, and I've got a star. I was really quite pleased with that. You should have seen how I struggled before. Let's go to fit to window and zoom in once, and I'll close point editing, I don't need it now, and think about whether my star is the right size. I think it's actually a little bit big, but you can do whatever sizes you like. We're doing 3 sizes. If you remember the original, it had sort of big, medium and small. So I'm going to do 3 sizes, but I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. So let's call it 0.8. I think that's a nice size. And remember, I've zoomed in once because my inch here on the screen sort of matches an inch in real life, so I know this is the sort of size it's going to look when I do my print and cut. So let's stick that star there, and the quick replicate is hold the Alt key, click on it and drag. And I don't really need to rotate it for a different look, but I do. So let's think. Now, I'm imagining my twine is coming down this, oops, undo, this middle line here, which is about 1.5 inches in. And so I don't want to come too far over. So let's say that one there. Let's move that one up a little bit. That one there, and hold my Alt key, and ultimately you can do whatever design you like and however many stars that you like, of course. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 big stars, hold my Alt key, and now I'm going to scale that one. So I'm going to open my transform panel and choose this second option for scale. And into this box I'm going to type 75 and press enter. So this is my medium star, and we need a few of these now. So let's have one down here, and it can just go off the bottom, I think. And we'll have another one about there, and another one over that there. Let's give it a rotate. Don't know if it really makes much difference, but there we go. Let's have another one sort of there. Actually, we'll have one off the end, and I'll just straighten it up a little bit so it's just that little bit there. There we go. And now we need one that's smaller, so let's just pick one, and we're going to do 75 again to rescale. And let's start down at the bottom and put some little stars around the place, holding the Alt key as before. And do I want one up there or one off the side? So it's not going to look exactly like the one I made earlier. Actually, I think I'll leave it at that. Let's not bother anymore. So there we go. And really, our card is finished now. It's just fine tuning, except I've just remembered something. I haven't altered the opacity of my yellow O here. On the original I did, so let me go back and do that while I remember, because there's nothing worse than making mistakes. So this yellow, I increased the transparency so that it didn't stand out as much, and I think I might have done 50, but no, let's go for 40, 42, 44, something like that. There we go, that's better. Right, now I can group that and my O together, and then hold my Shift key and group my letters all together again. Right, that's that little problem fixed. It's time to cut out our stars next. Now at the moment they're all individual, and I want of course still to have everything lined up. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take away my background, my card base. I need to select all the stars and the white background so that it will cut out, but I don't want the lettering on here, so let's move that out of the way. Now if you're going to make another card, or you want to keep your stars in this formation for something else or whatever, you can select them all and save them as a group. And well, you can click on each one and do that, which wouldn't take that long. It's not, oops, it's not that big a card. You could move the white out of the way, but of course if you do that you've got to try and line it up again exactly where you've got it now. If I think I'm going to want to use it again, then I'll duplicate and just move that out of the way, and let's use this one and cut out our stars. And we want our modified panel, and I've lost it, there we go, and we'll use subtract to cut the front shapes out of the back shape. Ta-da! Easily done. Bring back our base, click center, bring back our lettering, put it back in position, and our basic design is done. Now it's just a question of tidying up what we want to save and setting it for print and cut. So let's get rid of that. Let's group all our stars together because we might want to use them for something else, and sort ourselves out for print and cut. I don't need these anymore, so I can remove those. I can put these stars up there. I can duplicate my card and group it, for the simple reason then when I open this for print and cut, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing with the card. And now I can use this one to set it up for print and cut. So I don't need the background because I just trim mine on a paper trimmer, cut my A4 card in half. But I do need this, and we need to group it together so that we can rotate it or whatever to make the best use of our card. Now for mine I think I got two, and I did them this way, and I held down Alt, and I didn't have anything else to fill the space up, and so that was all that I did. And then of course you'll go to your send window to sort out your cut settings, and it'll do all sorts of weird things in the simple view. So let's go to line. We don't want the colour other than red cutting at all, so take that off. And once we do that, we should just see our stars and the card base, and then you'll choose your materials and your blade, and then cross your fingers and hope it all works. So let's have a quick look at mine again, and you can see that what I have just shown you on the screen is what I eventually got. My stars did cut out really well. I did use an overcut, I should have said, I think at 0.2 millimeters, something like that, and I did get really nice sharp points for my stars. And as I said earlier, my mistake was just from having a really sticky mat. To put the card together, I wound some twine around, and I anchored it at the back with a little bit of washi tape. It makes it a bit bulky in places. I'm not very good at this actual decorating stuff, I have to say. I do struggle. I threaded a piece of white through my button and then tied the bow behind, and then I tied the yellow bow to that, so the bow isn't actually part of these long strings. This is all stuck on with glue afterwards. Some very crafty people can tie bows with the piece that goes round. I can't. And then I simply added this little puffy star enamel shape. If I hadn't got that, I did consider doing one of the stars as a print and cut in the yellow and putting that there. And you could certainly do that if you haven't got any actual enamel shapes. Well, we're at the end of this little video, which by my standards is quite short. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.